Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. So I'm going to be working on the illustrator here. If I can move this over a little bit, get the chat over here. Do the link out there. We'll see if anybody jumps in tonight. Otherwise, we'll just take that. Otherwise, we'll just take in. A little bit more. Yeah. All right. So let's see. It is episode number 1000 something. We're gonna find out. Just gotta go over here. Nope. Click on this one. Open it on YouTube and find out. Just wrote it, but I would copy and paste it, so I didn't pay attention. Episode 1097, so pretty close to episode 1100, and that's like 100 episodes more than typical shows. So we've been all over the place with this one, and looks like there's 4 people starting, or 4 people watching. Looks like it started 98 seconds ago. That's kind of neat. Anyhow, so we will dig in here tonight. Title of the show is "Are You Living Up to Your Puppy's Expectations?" So it's something you're gonna have to answer for yourself. But puppies can be bribed by rubbing their bellies most of the time. Yeah, and that's why I use the. That's why I called the show that. I had recorded 22 history, whatever you call them, like the gun calendars videos. They're not very long, but 22 3-minute videos took like 2 hours to record. And I recorded them all, and then I was posting them all on YouTube. I think I had like 15 of them posted on YouTube, uploaded, and then I went to listen to one, and it was just the background music. My stupid mics are acting funny, so the screen capture stuff was only listening to the background music. It wasn't listening to my microphone at all. So I'm an idiot, and I didn't test it at all during the process, so I had to go back and do another 2 hours worth of recording, and do everything else again. So I was writing a Patreon post about that, and then I found that little puppy picture, and I didn't want to waste it because that puppy looks pissed off. That puppy looks like somebody let it down. It was expecting a little more. That's all I'm saying. So you're going to have to make up that kind of judgment call on your own. Like right now, I'm petting this little dog. I don't know what she wants. She just got done eating. She already been outside. But now she's looking at me like I owe her something. So I'm petting her. All right. Well, so it looks like you got some other people showing up tonight. Good evening. Got the link out there if anybody wants to jump in. We got Enrique's out there, Pants, Gun Library Garrett, and Barbecue. Oh, and DTP. So a bunch of us are out here tonight. First off, go over here and type in. What was I going to type in? There's Barbecue joining us. Good evening.
How are you doing, G?
Yeah, fair to middling. What was I going to type in here? I was going to type in here. Dang, I had something all set. You're asking me how I'm doing. I'm doing fine. I just basically woke up because I'm all screwed up now. I don't know how I had started out somehow to get to where I'm sleeping at night when it's cooler, and got myself completely flip-flopped so that I woke up at 9 a.m. the other day. I was like, dang it, like that's the exact opposite of what I'm trying to do here. I want to go, I want to start falling asleep at 9 o'clock in the morning. So anyhow, however it came out, I ended up where I was, I don't know, I was able to walk around a little bit this morning, and we have a curfew now. So of course I'm going to go out and walk around instead of listening to the curfew. And that got me kind of on track, I thought, and then I fell asleep and I woke up right before this show. So I'm all screwed up right now, but I'm wide awake. So digging into the show. I hadn't planned to fall asleep during the guts of the afternoon today. And I had planned to just rest my eyes for a second, just to lay down for a moment and rest my eyes. And I had something that I was debating whether I was going to put it on the Instagrams, and I was going to look it up on the computer, and now I can't remember what exact phrase I was going to look up. So we'll just go to open chat then, since I can't remember what I was going to talk about. What's on your mind barbecue, or for the people who are out there? We got 7 people joining us tonight. What's happening?
Honestly, I just wanted to jump in real quick. Got a new set of headphones that has a built-in mic. Wanted to see how this improves my audio, if at all.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say, but like 1,000%, 100%, whatever it is, it's night and day. Clearness wise, you weren't not clear before. I should say it was breaking up, and there's no breaking up or anything now.
Hopefully, it stays that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than likely that was just a what's the word, like cord or something, some physical, I guess what I was looking for. I'm opening up my Instagram to see if I can figure out what the heck I was going to search for. Oh, thank you. That's what I was going to look for. I finally figured it out. Quick naps that turn into 6-hour naps. Yeah, it's like 100 something, and it's like thunderstorming, so it's gross and humid, and then we got curfews and stuff, so everybody's freaking out. And, yeah, it's just definitely I don't know. And then I was up. I think what happened is I was up for a long time. That's probably what got me. I'm not even really putting math to it, but I think I stayed up all night the other night with that chat, and then I was all screwed up. I probably only took a couple of naps, and then I didn't realize where I was at. But anyhow, I'll quit trying to force it, and I'll just equilibrize here, or whatever that's called when you are open with a sleep schedule, and I can sleep how I want. I guess I don't really put too much effort into it if I don't have a schedule. If I've got things to do, it makes it a lot easier. But if right now, not many people are asking me to do stuff, so I don't have much to do. I was going to look up PSYOPs. Who knows about PSYOPs? There's Wikipedia, but I think I found something even more interesting. But depending on who you look at, I forgot what hashtag I was looking at. I was looking at something on the Instagram and decided to go down a different path than normal, like a different hashtag surf or whatever, and ended up into some interesting memes and stuff. And got me thinking about, the way that when a state or, a big project or a big entity wants to screw with another bunch of people, they've got ways that they figured all this stuff out. So I hadn't seen too much from the perspective of this being a giant situation that's manufactured or managed or engineered. I don't know what the words would be, but the same way you would prepare for, I don't know, like you don't know if you're going to need to defend yourself. You don't know if that's going to be from a violent attack or from a burglary or something, right? I guess a robbery. So this kind of thing. Are we defending ourselves against an opponent or a happenstance or a trending wave and something easy, or maybe that's not easy, but something that's not deliberate? Or is it one of these different types of campaign against I don't know, I'm gonna just say us. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know who all's got insight on that, or if anybody's seen any what's the word, like evaluation of the situation from this angle. I mean, I think we'd probably employ a couple of people in our military that deal with PSYOPs. You would think there'd be people with some input to how, there's got, when you know how things work, how crowds and how populations and how systems are managed or manipulated, then don't you also know ways to unmanipulate? Don't you know ways to discover and or shed light? Wondering if there's angles we can look at there, or if anyone's seen any when looking at those angles, pointing the cameras up at the puppet strings. Let's see. DTP saying the gun shop was packed when I drove by on the way home. Yep. Imagine. I mean, it's all, energy moving. It's not effective, positive energy. It's not growth and construction, but you burn down a bunch of stuff. It means that everything from the fire department to the, people sweeping it up to the people building the new building, they're getting work. But it'd have been better if they could have built something better or different or on purpose instead of just rebuilding. Unscheduled rebuilding is different than a planned upgrade or something. All right, well, so got Erstwhile out there now, and yeah, I guess I'll just start drawing then. Feel free to chat. I'm not, I don't write scripts to entertain nobody. I'm here to host a conversation with people that want to have conversations about stuff.
Yeah, I was having some signal issues.
You getting bad internet or something?
Yeah, it seems like it's spotty tonight. Right now it seems to be all right, but we'll see what happens here in a few minutes. If it keeps giving me issues, I'll just jump out.
Right on. Yeah, so like I say, I was just kind of thumbing through on my phone. I was probably like half groggy from not realizing I was about to pass out for a few hours. But yeah, I was looking at some of the PSYOP stuff, and looking at it on Wikipedia is one thing. I was looking at it on other sites that weren't trying to explain it as much as maybe use examples of how it's been used or has been, is being used or whatever words are. So I don't think I'm going to find anything from the Army except for maybe job description for people that go into that MOS. But I don't know, has anybody seen anybody looking at it from that angle? Like, I would like to think we have, I don't know what we got, at least a branch, not a branch, a division or something. Like, how big is PSYOPs? Maybe this will tell us.
What exactly is PSYOPs? I know I've heard the term before. It's something I should probably look into more. I just never put much thought into it.
It's when you throw let's say the easiest way to think of it is when you see the pamphlets being thrown out of a helicopter or something. It's using information and knowledge and opinion and hearts and minds to let the either the population that's being screwed with, that's getting a war fought on top of them, or the enemy, like getting into their heads and giving them information sometimes. Think about North Korea. If we were at war with North Korea, a portion of what we would need to accomplish, right, to finish something, some kind of violent situation with a country where their people are just in horrible conditions, a good portion of that can be eliminated by just letting people know. If you could drop cell phones, like back in the day, they would have dropped pamphlets in different multiple language to say, that guy's rich, or like, that's not your king or something, like some kind of eye-opening thing that they could then talk about. And I don't know, I'm sure that they were created in a way that they allowed people to say, hey, did you see the droplet? And then kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now they know they're both on the same side and they are against the tyranny. You never know when you're under tyranny. When people get rewarded or elevated social class by turning people that are doing the opposite, people that are working against the state. If you get a promotion for turning people in, then number one, it's a disincentive for anybody to talk about the fact that they're unhappy ever. But you're constantly scared at what you're, who's seeking power, and it's a horrible situation. So it's going to create a situation where people don't want to talk to each other. And that's part of tyranny. Tyranny, is nothing more than being a bully on the playground. And think about all the dynamics of a bully on the playground. When there's no teachers watching and the kids are being kids, there's the bully, there's the kids that the bully's picking on, and then there's all the kids that are standing there. So if you want, you can say everybody's guilty, or if you want, you can say, everybody's got a potential, but whatever. There's that same situation in world, right? So if there's a state or a government that's smashing down on the people, there's going to be, ways that people react to that. Anyhow, so PSYOPs is being aware of all that and then poking it, either poking or pulling or appealing or doing something, usually with words, sometimes with music or other ways to get information across multiple languages and cultures and situations. But anyway, something that they can. Oh no, we're getting a weird echo. So something that something that we can either say or drop or let people know, so that they can start talking to each other and basically be in the resistance to whatever tyranny they're under. I'm assuming it has its. Well, I'm sure it goes back to the olden days, but for the United States at least, it probably starts in World War II when the OSS and fighting the Nazis was pretty crazy. So the way that they were taking over countries and what's the word, just taking over countries and just being, I can't think of the word, but they were controlling countries. What's the word? Against their will. That had tons of potential for people to just be upset. When your whole town gives up and becomes a German town or whatever from being France yesterday, individual doesn't have much they can do until they can start talking to each other and figure out, 80% of us don't want this. How do we push back, right? You got to help them or facilitate that, or you don't have to, but that's what PSYOPs, I think that's what the OSS figured out they needed to do and then did. And honestly, I don't know if they had that idea first or if they just said, hey, we got to figure out what's going on. And then in the discovery of what was happening, they figured out, we can influence. Either way, I don't know. I'm sure PSYOPs have been around since the first time some caveman threw poop into the neighbor caveman's cave so that he would move, right? That's PSYOPs, making somebody uncomfortable or screwing with somebody so that they figure it's worth leaving. Or, it's just anything that's not war, I guess, to mess with somebody or to influence somebody. I don't think it's always to screw with people. But anyway, it's psychological operations. It's just the abbreviation of psychological operations. And we started calling it that, 80s or something, the 70s.
That's what I was thinking it pretty much was.
History, here we go. World War I, the propaganda subsection was established within the general staff in 1918. So these were run off as propaganda, reflecting, I guess, to send out in Austria. I don't know, I'm trying to read a paragraph fast. But then in World War II, things went, psychological operations in World War II went from strategic to tactical. So I don't know if it was, I guess it would be an interesting thing to pursue. I don't know if I've even asked anybody or even looked into what a good book would be to learn about OSS. But at this point, there's probably clinical, there's probably historical, and then there's probably whatever you call, when somebody actually writes down their stories, real story. There's probably real, nothing matters anymore. So there's no, what's the word? Classified stuff. I imagine they probably have some interesting stories about all that. But I haven't looked it up to see. I kind of saw where the Jedburgh teams came from and all that, but they just talk about how somebody said it should be, and then the story of it. Nobody really talks about where the decision was made to make that decision. Anyhow, so these are when we're in war, and that's a little bit different because, of course, you've got whole different things happening that are known. The things that are unknown go towards that major goal. When there is no war declared, then imagine that's where we have CIA and FBI to attempt to pay attention to stuff that isn't obvious, right? Patriot is saying it's supposed to affect the aggressors as well as a civilian. Yeah, and I imagine it probably is an emphasis on whichever is necessary, right? Like they probably always are aware of their abilities on both sides, and then they, I'm sure if they have like a really rigid fighting force, they're not going to bother too hard trying to convert them when they've got more potential with the, I don't know, the regular people, unless I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. Let's see. So anyway, this is what we're really talking about is a bunch of military level stuff at a nation state level, but I'm guessing they have to deal with psyops against and like in defense, and also I don't know if they deal about not defensive but aggressive or whatever the end defensive. But for non-nation states, when you've got people that just have interest or ability to screw with somebody just because they don't like your system of government or they got slighted or all the stuff that James Bond villains would get mad at the world about. You guys are at war, but who is the attacker? I see you just can't see the attacker. Are you saying I see it? I see it, just can't see attacker. I think that's what I'm trying to express too, Bob. I'm just bad at saying it. But it's possible that you can be at war with your shadow, right? Like you can somebody can spin you around and get you looking at your shadow and get you afraid of your own shadow, and then you're screwing yourself over. And that's possible. I don't know what the term for that is. But then it's, I guess, possible for somebody to be actually pulling strings. I don't think there's anybody out there that would have, just there's no way to know that many moves ahead, I wouldn't think, to actually be pulling strings. But it's super easy to shoot a BB gun at windows from across the street and have somebody at their wit's end trying to figure out why their windows keep breaking, right? And you don't have to be a giant force for that. You can just be a little kid with a BB gun driving somebody with a lot of windows nuts. 40% of gun buyers this month are first-time owners. I don't know how anybody's going to know that yet, but I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. There's no way I don't think most gun owners are going to go to the store right now. And like, that's the time to buy that second thing or that investment piece or whatever. I'm sure it's mostly panic, scared people buying guns right now. Bob's been around for a while. How about some of the other people? Someone is placing bricks. Yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting things. The newest one I've seen. What was the newest one I've seen? Like I said, I was out looking at different threads on Instagram that had nothing to do with this. And then, of course, everything's talking about it. So I did find something that was new to me, and I had not yet seen anybody else reposting it. And I assume it will go around. And it's about 12 different things. The one that pisses me off is I'm paying attention. If I went through my Instagram, you'd see I've done it before. I mostly pay attention to Second Amendment stuff, not just gun stuff, but like focused on Second Amendment stuff for the most part, and then a couple of friends and things. But nobody I know, nobody I'm following has been paying attention to the dead horses. But holy shit, I've accidentally found all the dead horses. I wasn't looking. I was been curious. Ever since people have been like being really positive about the fuckers that are stealing cop horses. I don't know why they think that's funny, because unless those fuckers are cowboys, which I doubt they are, those horses are getting floundered, or what's that called when you run a horse too long? They're breaking legs and they're killing these horses. I was suspecting of it, or I suspected it, and then I found I don't even want to encourage you to do it, but it's out there and it's unfortunate. But there's a shit ton of horses that have died, shit tons of them. I don't know what it is. I guess it's easy to beat on a thing that can't defend itself, or maybe when you kill something that's bigger than you, it feels good or something. I can't imagine beating a horse with a brick, and I don't understand it. So anyway,
I think a lot of that issue is just people looking at them as just another tool of the police and not looking at them as it's an animal.
Yeah, I mean that's just life doesn't matter anymore. You don't care about things. You just care. You're just being. I mean, I don't even know. I really can't figure it out. Yeah, but you obviously have different filters, brain or whatever that's called, or like different boundaries, whatever that's called. But whatever. We're only again. That's what the goal is with psyops is to trigger people. So let's look at the definition of psyops. So we kind of bullshitted about it or whatever, but the actual definition of it is the same no matter where or what. And that's the thing is every time you type in psyops, it goes to our psychological operations as if we're the only people in the world that have ever done this, or like, the military is the only one that has anything to say about it. It's manipulative. It's what bitchy girls do on the playground to each other. It's just, douchebaggery. It's just that it's written down so that you actually examine it as, the actual ways that people are mean to each other or that people manipulate each other. But it looks like most of this, maybe because I'm typing in psyops, if I typed in psychological operations, it would probably maybe show more, maybe clinical or whatever it's called, like just broader definitions. Let's see. Operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their emotions, motives, and objective reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and individuals. So it sounds like a lot of words and, whatever. It's long words that trying to express a lot of information. But basically manipulation. It's dicking with you. It's tweaking you so that you don't even realize you're being tweaked. And then you're played. You're just being a puppet of a bigger plan. And the best part is when they go and, when you're the puppet, they get you to say, I'm not a puppet. Like, you can't tell me I'm a puppet. And like, that's the kind of stuff that gets to you because they figured this stuff out a long time ago. Mammals have always been mammals and they know how to fiddle with us. So when they want to manipulate divisively or, intentionally, it's not tough to figure out the core things that get us. And once you get, crowd think or group think or whatever that's called going, then it just helps them. So, I'm not going to dismiss it. I mean, I'm not saying that people are only being manipulated. They're no longer at fault. Fuck all that. But I just think it's interesting that I haven't seen much talking about this at all or focusing on that area of it or whatever. Patriots saying look up psychological warfare tactics. I was looking more for, I guess, the clinical, like therapists, whatever, psychiatrists angle or definition of it, but it doesn't matter. The definition was because people are using it offensively, and that's a warfare, yeah. I just joined Instagrams a couple of days ago. Instagram is nice because it's an interface that's interesting because it allows you to wiggle your thumb on your phone. And, if your hand's big enough that you can do that one-handed and your hand phone proportion is big enough that you can do that one-handed, it lends itself to being useful or quick to use. So waiting in line somewhere or, whatever, you lay down or something, you're sitting in the back seat of the passenger seat of a car, you're on a bus or something. Anytime you can zone out and not have to talk to somebody for a minute, or you just want to get a diversion, you can go wiggle around on Instagram. And since it's photographs, it's just visual. You can just look. If something's interesting or there's something to talk about, you can read. But, if it isn't crazy like it is right now, if it's just a typical Tuesday or something, you're going to see some pictures of people's food. You're going to see new guns that they bought or something, maybe some new paint job on something, or somebody got married or whatever, just stupid chatting and superfluous or whatever the word is, superficial chat. But whenever it's necessary, it can be pretty effective. It can get the word out there. And because it gives people a shared communication platform that's kind of quick and to the point, it's created a conversation that's fairly quick. It's not as quick or superficial as Twitter. And because it's pictures, it requires a camera and something that's actually interesting. So I think you get less people than Twitter that are just sitting around in like an empty room being weird, typing on a computer. Because usually Instagram people are taking pictures of something or doing something. I don't know. Just seems like Twitter's a bunch of people just sitting around, but I don't know. I've been throwing the link out here, Bob. So instead of sending people emails anymore, I just do this. So Barbecue just jumped in from here every once in a while. I don't like to post constantly on Patreon. And I posted a couple of times this weekend already. But occasionally I'll post the link on Patreon, especially if I set up the show early, like half an hour early or more. I'll set it up on Patreon so that people can jump in and chat off air. There's plenty of people that'll jump in for a minute and chat, jump out if somebody else comes in, or not want to be on air or whatever. But not enough that I do it every day or anything. Now, I have been hearing rumors, and I've seen a little stuff happening, some updates here and there. Of course, with all this craziness, I guess it could affect it, but people have been chatting about doing an early watch again. So we'll see if early watch starts happening in the mornings, and then this show can hopefully go back to complementing the earlier show.
Now, is that going to be by the same guys that were doing it before, or somebody else trying to start it up fresh on their own?
Well, I ain't trying to. I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm not going to. There's not even enough to say like, oh, here, I'm going to tell you early. There's nothing to tell about. I'm just saying, as opposed to nothing happening, like people have poked around. So there's the potential is the closest we got. There's nothing more nothing more finite than that I'm aware of. So in other words, there's no, I don't know. It's not even like a rough draft of a sketch yet. It's not even like a conversation's been had. There's just, I see that people are awake that weren't awake 2 years ago. I should say that 2 months ago. And that is, I guess, and then additionally, they've said stuff like, hey, we're thinking about blah, 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 or whatever. So no actual, nothing other than rumors or stirrings. I don't even say rumors, just stirrings. I guess I'll close this then. So I don't know if it's even worth posting something about PSYOPs. PSYOPs are one of them things that it's like a mind fuck. Like part of the mind fuck is to sometimes to know that you're doing it. So if they're good at it, or if they luck into a thing that helps them inadvertently, you can end up helping the cause or fanning flames by illuminating something or attempting to illuminate. So it can get pretty tricky, and I'd much rather have some advice from somebody who's been around the block before. And since I'm probably right now an hour, like, I don't know, not even 100 miles away from the military's psychological warfare school, I got to have somebody around here that knows about that stuff. So I'll keep waiting until I find somebody that knows about that stuff, and I'm not just, all I'll do is poke a couple of ideas out there and see what we can find. Or so I'll say I'm mostly interested in following the machining stuff on there, so I don't get much boring food. Well, the food is, you can follow food for sure, but I think that's just more of like, you go somewhere like when, I guess Bob wasn't there, but a bunch of us went to $1,000 dinner one time at SHOT Show. It was supposed to be some deal, and it wasn't a deal. So anyway, I think we got some appetizers for free. It's just a bunch of rich people wanted to go eat food that costs a lot of money, and it ended up costing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. I don't know if Pink is out there tonight. Pink was there, but there was, I think, just 6 of us there, and it was $1,000. And I ate a salad. I ate a fucking blue cheese salad or whatever it's called, like a Cobb's. No, I don't even know what it was called. It's just 4 pieces. It's like they took a head of lettuce, chop it into 4, and put blue cheese dressing on it. I had that, and I'm pretty sure that was like $18, and Yankee paid for it. I didn't even buy it, but I don't have any money. But Yankee bought it, and it was still like, I think it was $18 just for my salad or whatever. And then they gave us, I think, every appetizer on the thing for free. And so I poked at some of the appetizers, but the appetizers were disgusting, like bone marrow and I don't know, some kind of snot off of something, wiped on something. It's pretty gross. Speaking of PSYOPs, anybody watch the miniseries about Waco? Definitely. That's one of the, I don't know if that, it must be considered because, yeah, it's changing history right there. That's pretty poor. It's not a documentary. It's just a fictional, whatever, fiction based on the situation, I guess. And obviously with some sort of mission to make the military or the police or whatever you want to call it, FBI, ATF, make them look like they're human, like they didn't completely screw it up and kill a bunch of people, and then take pictures in front of the dead people as they were burning, as if they were horrible, horrible people. So that's kind of tough to miss that they didn't, or it's obvious that they didn't put any of that in the end. And they have them weeping. Instead, they have them weeping, which is, well, at least not documented anywhere. But yeah, that's, but even the concept that they put that show out there right at the time when everybody, you know, it's just enough time to cook for all this to happen. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying, again, it would be pretty crazy to think that there's an entity out there that's large enough to pull all these strings to make these things that seem coincidental or whatever, as if they were all parts of a bigger thing. But if that's the case, if there's an entity that large, then what's the end game? How do they profit by all of this? So I guess it's possible that you could think that or whatever, but I think it's more likely that there's just large groups of people that want to screw around, and they're bumping heads, and sometimes in alignment and sometimes ain't. But instead of trying to figure it out, you know, do you care if you're the thing floating on the water where all the rush of water came from? You know, maybe you can figure that out once you're not worried about the Russian water anymore. But at some point, you just sort of take care of business and live. And, you know, if there was answers, then we'd probably have more than 11 people watching this podcast tonight. Oh, I was going to draw some pictures over here. So let's see. I'm going to jump over on this screen and look at the store, because people have been buying cartoons over there. And more often than not, they buy a cartoon of somebody who I've already drawn a cartoon of. So I think of it as a donation and I thank them for it. But and then I move on. But I lost a bunch of cartoons. So now I think I'm going to go back and use the ones that people have purchased as a list. So I can go through. Now, how do I do that? Well, I know how to do it, I think. I'll go to products and go to cartoons. And then look at the ones that have already sold. That work. Sponsor a 2A activist. So I know I need a Mike Sedini because I've got a video of his coming up here. There's a video where I drew him, but I don't have the file anymore. Let's see. Is this going to tell me who's taken and who isn't? Yes. All right. So I got the guy from Minnesota. Got him. Oh, do I have him anywhere? Probably not. He was like one of the last people I did. Jerry Henry. Georgia Carey. I think I got him already, though. Dang, is there a way to move this over? No. Yeah, I have to go all the way down here and over here. Can I move this over? That might work. I'm trying to figure out who's got a 0 next to their name, but the way the column is flying over here, I have to keep going all the way back to the bottom of the list to move over to see the 0 and then move all the way over to see who the name is. All right, so we got, Carrie. So we can figure out Carrie McWilliams. Who knows who Carrie McWilliams is? I know one guy out there does. We'll put him down for this layer. And then why is this not showing me the bottom? I found like 3 different new things to do in Adobe. And I feel like as soon as I start fiddling with the program, I'm going to start using those tools I heard about. It's like that. What's that situation where as soon as you learn about something, you want to go try it. Robert Young, Doug Ritter, Todd Rathner, Logan. I don't have Logan. I've never done Logan. So boom there, and over here, Logan, and that is from High Caliber History. Charlie, we got Charlie. John or Jerry Henry. No, I do have them, I think. But here's Mike Sedini. Him. I don't know how many I'm going to do tonight, so I'll just see if there's any more in here. Jeff Cooper. Oh, we don't have Jeff Cooper in here. But I do want to get to the ones that people have actually requested, basically. All right, and then Rob Doer, who's from Minnesota. I already got him. So I can close out of this. And we're back over here. All right. And I think I'll close that. Don't need it open. And posted a bunch of stuff over on the Patreon. And I want to thank everybody for being on Patreon. Let's see. We'll close out of there. And now we're back over here. See, there's a whole other screen that you can't see that I'm just been maintaining over here and trying to close a bunch of stuff so that I don't think my computer cares too much that I got things open, but it just gets really tedious when you open up the list of stuff that's open. All right, so now we can go find, I guess I'll start with Mike. I can compare it to the first one I did. Once I'm all done. I don't even remember which picture I took of Mike. Or I used from Mike. Probably this one. The one you see most often. So I just grab that and we'll put it down on this layer. So it's way too big. This white thing is basically an 11 by 17 piece of paper. So this is giant. We'll crop it. And that's just removing all the pieces we don't want. In this software, it does it through this interface. And now it's like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another file. And go to recent, and I'll just open up this one. And this is a list of a bunch of other people I've already done. And we'll take Carrie Sloan. Right? And grab all those pieces, copy. Actually, we can go back to here and we'll add a couple of layers. So we can put Carrie up here. We'll leave this layer highlighted, and then we'll go back to that other file. We'll take all the stuff that we've highlighted, that we've got controlled, copied, and then we'll drag it over to here. It didn't work, so I will do it the right way. I will not let go. And now I'll drop it over here, and it dropped into the layer I had open. So we'll actually move her over just a bit, group her. So all these pieces, now I can just click one of her anywhere, and it's going to click everything on her. So I can move her over to, let's say, here. And that gives us an idea how big to make Mike's head. Oh shit, we lost a bunch of it over here. So we'll delete that. We'll lock that layer, and now Carrie's just there as a reference. So we make people's heads about the same size as hers. All right, so there's Mike's head, and now we can just shut off her layer. It's still there, and we can't do nothing to it because it's locked, but now it's not in our way, let's say. Copy Mike's head, leave it on that same layer, turn one of them down about halfway so I can see the lines I'm going to draw on it, and then lock that layer. It's still there and we can see it, but now I don't do nothing. I do clicks on those things. So then I take his name and then paste over here with an indication that I'm going to write lines on that layer. Paste his name again and indication that I'm going to put color on that layer. So there's no reason to. I'm locking the color layer anyway. Let's see, now I'm going to find a tool that I want to use, and I'll just draw with this little paint tool, and we'll use the edge, but not the fill. They call it the stroke, but it's really the edge. So now we'll go to the layer where we're drawing lines, and I'll knock the throttle down on my mouse so that I move my mouse all around and it barely moves on the screen. That way, there's less of me fiddling with. Now it's way too much. So now I'm going to throttle it up a little bit and undo that. Too much. So the nice thing about this mouse, even though it only costs a couple of bucks, is that it's got like this throttle where I can make it really sensitive or much less sensitive, and that allows me to just get this kind of stuff a lot easier. Oh shit, now this is all screwed up. So what do I got going on here is it's still at opacity of 42% for some reason. So we'll bring that up back to 100 and we'll delete it.
Hey, G, I've got to run.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for the link.
I can imagine how boring it would be to watch somebody just do something like this. So I usually start with eyes. And if I start from the outside, I go from the outside on both. And if I start from the inside, I go to the inside on both. Oriental, so I'm not going to do that. That is not good. So that and that. Nope, it's all looking bad. The worst is when you know somebody. Have to play with the robot? No, dude. I barely am kicking. I don't have any time to just play. I owe people stuff from the robot, but I'm in a place where if I mastered the robot, I could jump out there and create some things. Like I can with the sewing machine or whatever. You know, I know it enough that even when it's horribly hot like this, I can make stuff. I can go in there and make it work. I'm still learning that robot, and it requires, well, a laptop like connected to it. So it means the laptop has to be out there with it. And during the day, it's 107. And although the robot can probably run in any heat, I think I've never gotten it hot enough to care. The laptop can't. And I don't, that room, I can't heat a room that doesn't have any insulation, or I can't cool a room that doesn't have any insulation. So there's just, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. Plus, there's no possible way I can make $1, let alone, I mean, there's nothing I can do with that machine to make $1. So every moment I would spend on the machine, I would be, not making rent money. I mean, right now I'm technically, I guess I have to look at it like, Patreon is $10 a month or $10 an hour. This is coming out of that Patreon time. I got to spend the rest of the time in my waking time to try to bills paid. So yeah, I don't have time to work on the robot. If it was inside or if I had like an air conditioned thing or something, maybe I could sneak out there. But right now, the only time I can get out there is super difficult. I don't know what it is. But it's the only time I can work on it. Even if I worked on it right now, it's not cool. They're 91 right now at 10 p.m., but my neighbors would kill me if I went out there making a noise with it. It's going to get to 76 tonight at 7. I could probably run that thing at like 9 in the morning. And my neighbors would not like me, but they couldn't call the police on me. And then, I'd be able to run it for a few hours before it got to 100 again. And it wouldn't be 100 in there as soon as, it would probably stay nice in there till almost noon. But, yeah, it's just battling multiple things right now. It's frustrating. Well, it's not frustrating. I've lived like this for a long fucking time. I'd really like to be able to play with that thing, but man, this is not working. I got the mouse and the scale the way I want, but I'm just not. Seen Mike too many times, like live and hanging out with him in real life. Not hanging out with him, but being in places where he's at. So I've seen him, and as soon as you draw a line, you're like, oh, that looks like some kind of cartoon that don't look like Mike. So I'm just gonna. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a little better. At least his eyes are open now. And chicks are easy because their hair wisps out all over. But dudes, I'm used to just drawing a line. So I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't think so. Where's your shed for your house? I got a 100-foot USB cable. I hear what you're saying. No, it's attached to the house, but the I don't know, a 100-foot USB cable would probably allow me to keep the laptop inside, but I don't think USB can run longer than a couple of, like a yard or something. I don't know how a 100-foot one would work, unless it's got like a power cord or something on it. And if it works for you, it must. I just never even, I thought that they had a limit of like 6 feet or 21 feet or something. Looks like he's got some kind of hairdo or some shit. I don't know what I'm doing. No worries. Thanks for jumping in. You know, this isn't always going to be a 5-hour epic conversation about 2A. Ugh, that almost looks good, but it's the wrong hairstyle. But, you know, it may happen. Bob said he might be able to get on one of these days, didn't he? Send me a link tomorrow. I think the interweb will handle a live show. So there you go. Does that mean that you move somewhere, Bob? These people need to be put on an island in North Canada naked. I mean, obviously there's no logic to it. So that's the frustrating part. When I listen to grown men and women sit around getting flustered about stuff that's completely out of control. It'd be like people walking up to a volcano and being like, oh my goodness. Like if there's something they could have done about a volcano, or that could be done about a volcano, or that, you know, by virtue signaling enough in front of the volcano's going to stop spewing, what do you call it? Lava. Not that it's inevitable, and I'm not condoning anything, but crying out loud. Being weird. It wasn't like the French got up and got offended and hashtagged it. They gave up real quick and let the English come over and fix it. Oh shit, it almost looks like I'm okay with this. It definitely isn't perfect, but except for that beard thing. This makes it look a little bit fat, but well, it's going to be a fat Maxidini now. And with a weird beard thing there. All right, so we'll get rid of that. I've used it on machines, but it works. It's not powered. All right, right on. Well, if you want to, feel free. That actually, I never thought about it, but that could eliminate some of it because, yeah, that was one of my concerns is having, well, my laptops are always, it's always an issue here. Like right now, I guess I turned off my fan because I was doing a thing. But like right now, my laptops are hot. Well, you can imagine. It's 91 degrees outside. It's 91 degrees inside. So, because I've got all my doors and windows open and fans going, so it's actually cooler now with the fans going than it was in here. So it was probably hotter than, it was probably stuffy. So maybe it wasn't hotter, but it was stuffier here a minute ago. But anyway, it's been 90 something all day in here. Like I said, I just got up and started turning them on. So it would actually be worse in here if I was up all day. I'm running the computers while it's hot out, and that's just adding to the heat, right? If I run them like this when it's getting cooler outside, it's part of the plan is that they, you know, they don't heat up the house so much. Ugh, do not like this one. All right, well, that's what's happening. That's how you'd make a really crappy version of Mike Zedini. Oh, he doesn't have a nose either. All right, so I get a nose. Ugh, okay, I'm all right with that. All right, and then boom, boom, boom. And now we take the stroke or the edge off completely. This little thing means nothing. And then we'll go to, I always just start with this color, and now we go to this tool, which will fill. And here's the thing that I learned about that I might want to start playing with and I forgot about. So you go over to this little goofy thing, and you click on stuff, and you layer. You click on this little goofy thing, and then you click on a thing. Thought, oh, so I have it locked. You have to unlock it, and then you click on a thing. Oh, come on. Oh, click on the wrong layer stuff. Now we got it. How am I doing this wrong? All right, so now I've highlighted it, and now I've got the width tool. All right, I'm doing it wrong. About this, how you do it. How the hell do you do it? You can only do it to these kind of lines? That would be stupid as hell. So now I've clicked that line, and now I can use this. Oh, it's stupid. All right, Well, see, this makes it like almost like a brush. See how you can adjust the widths all neat? But, dang, I can't do it on this brush tool. I can only do it on that other tool. Ugh. All right, well, here, I'm going to try something. So we're going to close that one and remove it and add a new one and call it like CD L2. And then I will try doing it with these things. I've never done this before. So this is more, you go to the places and, oh, I guess I do have to influence it. You just create these, I don't know, lines all around. And then, you just have so much less control. It makes your curves nicer, I guess, but, you know, this seems weird as fuck. So, this looks horrible. And then you don't have any of the lines you want, but you have a different type of line. Yes, that looks horrible. Why would anybody want to do that? And then you just, I guess, then you go, oh, guess what I get to do? Spend an infinite amount of time dinking with every one of these little points. I think these people are doing whatever their teachers tell them at school. And then you're going to click this and make these lines wider. I guess that's a different style for sure. I don't like it. This is how the kids draw these days. Seems lazy. Shitty. That's why anime looks like this, probably. And there's some other tool that I never use. Shit. Called the curve tool or something. And I think that's the most thing for you. You just barely click and it fills in all the rest for you. Ugh. Seems fucking horrible. And then you take this stupid thing and then you wiggle on it like this to make it look like it's a comic book or something. So basically, you're just allowing random to happen and you're forcing the viewer's eyes to fill in all the blanks. I wonder if that's the strategy. And then that way you figure like, oh, my brain just had to do a bunch of work to try to figure this out. It must be good. What do you think? That's a whole different style right there. I mean, it looks like a thing, I guess. But I don't feel like I had anything to do with it. I feel like I was standing here poking at some things, and then it came out of there. But I guess that's what shit is. Put this here. So now I gotta click over here. I feel like whenever I do it my normal way, I don't have to dink around after. However, I guess having this thing is neat for doing things. Once you get used to using it, I bet you it's pretty epic. It looks like some kind of anime version of him. No, he definitely doesn't look like him anymore. He looks like him in the respect that he doesn't look like a young Chinese girl, but you know, he doesn't look like him. That's what happens when you put both of them on there. It's even creepier. Let's see. I don't know how you survive 90 feels like 100 here. Oh yeah, it's horrible. I'm not digging it. But it's cheaper than having air conditioning and all that kind of shit, I guess. And this isn't even bad. This is freaking barely June. We got to get through July and August. That's the part. That's the hard part. This is nothing. This is the warm up. At least now it still gets to, what did it say? Is it going to be 60 or something? No, it's going to be 60. It's going to be like 80 tonight or something. It's when it doesn't get under 100 all day long in nighttime. That's when it's horrible. Hopefully I can book somewhere when that happens. All you got to do is go north or up. I can go up into a mountain. It can get cooler at night. And that's what I'll do sometimes is I'll just, when it gets super bad, I'll take the dog and we go up a hill. And I can't really do stuff online up a hill, but I can, I'll go up a hill. And this year, I'll probably go up a hill and come back down with a book or something. Like I'll draw a bunch of pictures for a book or something. Or write a bunch of stuff for a book and come down and try to, do something that way maybe. Can't afford to drive somewhere and live somewhere different, but I can afford to go up a hill for a couple of days, just camp out, live off the grid. Because nobody goes to those campsites where you're like primitive or whatever, where there's no internet. I'm not going to leave this because that would be a completely different thing than anything else I've done. So I'll leave it with my crappier one here, and then we'll start adding some colors. So I'll unlike that color layer. We'll go back over here and get rid of the edge, add the fill, and we'll go back to the fill tool, which is this one. So if I would have done that other style of drawing, I could have filled this much easier with like one click. I could have just gone up here and added the fill to the edge and it would have filled it. But I don't know, it feels like then I'd have to have these weird anime looking things all the time. I wonder if that, I would say it might work better for like a house or a gun or something, like something with a bunch of straight lines that you draw, but who cares about having a bunch of stupid shadowing and stuff on a gun or a house? Like that just seems stupid. So this is, person or organic looking shape is where you'd want that kind of shading, or I guess that's shading, I don't know what to call it, line thickness. So I just go around, make like a coloring book. Really, there's no difference. It's just that it's electronic, so I don't get a bunch of crayons everywhere. Problem with crayons is, let's say you ever sharpened a crayon in a crayon sharpener. What'll happen is you get a bunch of these like crayon shavings, right? Like the ends of the crayons that come off of there, all those shavings. That's like honey for a bear, except it attracts Marines. So what happens is if you use a lot of crayons all the time, you're going to start getting Marines hanging out. And it just gets annoying. They're always fighting with each other and swearing. So it ain't worth it. I'll just do it on the computer. It makes it easier. See, if I end up with an end result that's all kind of lame like this, then I don't know the person. It takes me like 5 minutes, literally, to make one of these things. Maybe by the time I figure out the other way of doing it, I could get it down to that. Well, I'm sure I could, but I don't know if I really want to spend the time to get that good with that style. Because I don't mind this style, like that consistent lines, whatever it's called, line, that thickness is, I don't have a problem with it. And I'm wondering if this part might be better off with Photoshop. Actually, that's a pretty good one. Now that I've mastered Photoshop a little bit, I'm thinking that some of this color crap I gotta learn how to do this color crap better. Because there's some things that Photoshop has and other programs have where I'll just go click and then tweak, and it'll like click some button and it'll blend all these colors so that they don't look weird together. They look perfect together. There's something about our eyes or something that they can do a logarithm on that and figure out, well, if you like this color, then these are the other colors you want to use to make it look good. And I don't know if that's subjective as much as just making some sort of cue in on the same consistent wavelength or some shit. I don't know what color eyes he's got. Anybody know? Has anybody looked into Mike Zedini's eyes for a length of time and you can tell me what color eyes he has? I'm going to go with blue. So then we'll just grab his name off of here now. We will lock that layer, remove that layer, and then say X. Well, first we can save this file. which is probably a good idea. I just named it 2A Activist 2020. Too many of those. I'm losing track of which one's which. And then we export this to this folder where all the other ones are at. Click on one so that we get the formatting in, and then we change the name part to him. And let's make sure I don't already have him in here. I don't. So now we'll click export, and now it's going to pull out a ping. So no background, just that little squares designate nothing, as opposed to white. So this is a image being removed with just the cartoon, none of the background there. For in other words, if we would unlock it so that we can grab all of this and move it over, see his background has nothing to do with the white. I just have it in front of white so I can see what it looks like on white. All right, so that's the end of Mike Sedini. That took a lot longer than 5 minutes. We're an hour into the show and there's 8 people watching, so I don't know. I'm gonna keep doing this, and I don't care if I leave this on or not. I can't watch TV or nothing while I got this on. So let me know if you're still interested in doing stuff. Otherwise, I will close this out. What was I going to watch over here? Let's see what I got on the lineup. Close out of that. All right. I was almost done watching Into the Blue with Jessica Alba and some other people. She swims around in that one. It's pretty good. I'm watching a thing from some guy who's, I don't know. It was shown to me, and he seemed like, after watching moments of the video, that he doesn't seem like a spaz, but it's called Connect a Mixer to Audio Interface. So I think that guy's going to talk about how to plug in the gizmo between a microphone and a computer. That's what I've been trying to figure out. I just don't know what to call any of it. So I'm poking around like a kid trying to figure it out. Next, I found one called Affordable Large Sensor Camcorders. And I don't know, I just figured I'd watch that because I haven't watched nothing on cameras in forever. And I'm curious to what some YouTube spaz thinks affordable is. And I'm curious, if they're making these giant cameras, back in the day, you'd get a giant camera and it would be kind of modular, but it sounds like they're really making a modular now. Like you can take out the chips and the stuff. Like if you, it's not just the battery pack that's modular. Like they're really making some pieces modular. There's a thing about color palettes I'm going to watch from some dude that looks like a massive douchebag, but usually you learn good art shit from massive douchebags for some reason. I'm going to watch Cheryl Todd talk to Christy Titus at SHOT Show 2008. I don't know what the hell the deal is there, but some old-fashioned Gun Freedom Radio interview I've never heard of from SHOT Show 2018. Let's see. And then, was that it? Oh, I've been listening to the book on tape of Neuromancer by William Gibson. So Neuromancer, Neuromancer, I don't know how to say it, is The Matrix and, what's the name of that one? The one where it's the end of, it's like the end of the, dang it. It's the end of, it's like the year 2000, but it was made in the 80s, so they thought that was the future. And everybody puts these electronic spiders on their head and dreams other people's dreams. Strange Days, that one. So it's basically Matrix, Strange Days, and, well, a couple of other, like a lot of science fiction has come from Neuromancer, I guess. So it's a book from a long, long time ago, and I'm pretty sure it's the first time anybody used the word cyberspace, and that's why we call it cyberspace, is because of this book, because all the nerds that made the internet read this book back in the day. So is it the book that created what we got today because he wrote a book in front of a bunch of nerds and a bunch of nerds read it and then a bunch of nerds made the book, the stuff that they read about? So did he make it? Well, maybe. But it's an interesting thing because it's like, oh, I'm reading a ripoff of The Matrix, or I'm listening to a ripoff of The Matrix. It's like, no, I'm listening to a ripoff of Strange Days. And then it'll hit like, I don't think it hits Blade Runner too much. But those movies where, is it real or is it Memorex? Those kind of movies, it's pretty sure it's the origins of all of those. I'm going to try to do this. Let me close this without changing anything. Let me save this one more time, and then let me open up a new one. And we'll call it, what am I going to call it? Matrix. All right, so you zoom in on that a little bit. So let's say that there was, let's get rid of the part there. And let's go to blue, just make it interesting. Oh, no, wrong color. Go here and make this blue, just to make it interesting. All right, so you got a whole bunch of little people, and they're minding their business, but they're humans. They're human beings. Let's say you got a bunch of them, and then you can have girl ones too. So we'll make the girl one look like this. Because they're in on this too. So let's change that guy's arm so it doesn't look spazzy. And there, now he's hanging out. She's got a little attitude, he's hanging out. So we got these two humans. And then over here, separately, on an opposing side, what am I doing? There's my tool. That's the human layer. We'll make another layer, and then we'll have, oh, come on. Then we'll have the robot. Let's make it a big fat robot. Robot hand, big fat robot, and little robot feet. And he hates humans that are over there. And no, it doesn't work. You can only have, we can make him a cyborg robot. Okay. It's got a TV set for a head. All right, so now we got, whoa, click my mouse with my elbow over there and change that whole computer around. That's not good. Let's move that over there and there. All right, so let's say you got this business going on. So now that's the robot, and then we'll make this layer the warfare. So now we'll flip this to red. It's red is, well, orange is red is for war. And then let's say that the robot is going to kill somebody. Are they going to kill each human, right? Or is it easier to, I'm not going to run out of room. I haven't graphed this out yet. Would it be easier for the robot to, gotta try this, make a, what would the robot make? What did the robots do first? Let's just say this. Oh, it's red now. Let's make it purple. Let's say that they're going to make a nice purple little doodad, a widget for the humans. And now the humans are going to be like, hey, yeah, that widget's pretty awesome. And then, so then the robot's going to just give it to the people. He's going to be like, hey, you can have this. That's cool. You can have it. I'm going to group these guys up real quick. So let's get that robot and we'll group him. And then let's get this chick and we'll group her. And we'll get him and we'll group him. And now everybody's their own thing. See, they're just like Matt's dolls. You can play with them individually. Now they're not just a bunch of legs and arms, but they're all complete. And the little gizmo is complete. So the robot can make the gizmo and then go, here you go. And then these people are going to eventually get to where they're like, these gizmos are pretty freaking awesome. Like this is the shit right here. So they're going to get so many of these gizmos together, and the robots are going to be making these gizmos. You're going to get so many of these gizmos together that they're going to be like, oh, the world is just gizmos. Like that's just how it is or whatever. And that's the way to do it. I may do it like this maybe. They'll make all these gizmos to the point where now and then now I can unlock people again, and now the people can go hang out inside. What's going on? And go hang out inside of all the convenience that the robots made. See, so now the robots are in a situation where they didn't have to attack us, right? It wasn't necessary anymore because now, oh, I just made her red. Now they don't have to attack us anymore. Ugh, there. Because now all they got to do is, use these things against us. Decide not to make these things or make them different or whatever. That didn't work. We'll eventually come up with this better, though. It'll be a better looking robot. But I've got something going with this where this makes more sense when I'm not trying to whiteboard it, and I'll eventually figure out how to do it without whiteboarding it. But yeah, the Matrix is, what do you call it? The concept of tech taken over and controlling is super interesting. And this book that I'm 4.5 hours into an 8 and 9 hour book, so I'm barely half into it, has been super interesting because it isn't the Matrix. It's very much the Matrix. Like the part where kind of like Trinity and Neo hanging out with each other and meeting each other, that kind of is in it. But it's not really the Matrix, so it's not really Neo. I mean, it is Neo, but it's not really Trinity. It's sort of like a Trinity-ish character, who's, she is Trinity, but she doesn't do any of the things that they do in the book. They do different things, but they are the same characters. Maybe that's the way I should have said it. Neo is definitely Neo. Like he's living the same thing. It's just that I don't know if there's anything to get unplugged from in this book yet. I'm only halfway through it. Certainly doesn't seem like it. Yeah, interesting ways of thinking about how inadvertently you set yourself up to be screwed. And then, and I haven't heard it from this, but I heard it from, I think, the guy from Atari. No, from Steve Wozniak, the guy that invented Apple. He believes that the robots are going to keep us like pets, the same way that we keep dogs and stuff. We think they're neat and we don't want to hurt them because we like them. They think that robots will think of us as sort of the creator pet, and they'll keep us around. We might not like it, but they're not going to necessarily just kill us all, or at least not all of us. They'll keep some of us around, and whether or not they kill all of us, I guess will depend on the robots. But yeah, interesting perspectives on it. And when you only come at it from the Terminator side, it's sort of comfortable because then it's so unrealistic that, oh, that's just fake sci-fi or whatever. I can go back to work tomorrow and not even think about it. But when you hear a description of a possible future made by people that aren't trying to keep you comfortable, and I don't know if he actually knows more because he wrote all this stuff before stuff was invented. That's the scary part. He's writing stuff. When was it made? Let's find out when it was made. I think he's writing this stuff in the 50s, and then it would be insane. So Neuro. No, Nero. I got the N mixed off in there. And Nero. Man. Sir. All right. Published in 1984. Oh, well, that's not that fucking old. I thought it was old. So, yeah, this guy seen what was happening in 1984 and extrapolated it out. Okay, I thought it was from like the 50s. I thought that was an amazing feat. Still, it's an interesting feat, but it's definitely made by somebody who knows, what do you call it? I would say that he knew what the potential was of what we got today. It might not be exactly the same as what we got today, but certainly the abilities of what computers and shit can do he was correct about that, which is crazy still, because that was in the 80s. How could you possibly know the way the internet was going to come out in the 80s? That's nuts. But maybe it's that thing. Did they build it because they read this book? I don't know. But I definitely know that more than a few people recommended it as a book they've listened to, and I think the Atari guy was one that said, oh yeah, it's a must read. So that's my things that I'm looking at over on YouTube to do it instead of this. So now I wasted 20 minutes drawing a little robot picture. But now I have this little robot strategy guide with a girl and a dude and a robot and a shit ton of purple bricks that I can play with. Actually, these are silver doodads. They look kind of like a brick. But now I can use these in some sort of a massive whiteboard marketing campaign to profit off of the coming robot apocalypse. You think the crazy riots are bad. Wait till you see the robot uprising. I don't think that's scheduled for another couple of months. But right before the election, the robots will fucking become cognizant and get mad at Trump for hating robots. One time, Trump went up and slapped a robot, and they don't like it. Boom, nobody else can do that. Make a little robot pyramid. I guarantee you no other gun show that has had over 1,000 episodes is drawing a robot inside of a little box. Now, this robot created these little purple things to screw with humans and to eventually enslave humans. But now who's in the box? The robot, that's right. I rest my case. All right, well, I don't know if you should feel offended that you had to watch all this or like that you had an opportunity to see all this happen live. Either way, it's a horrible, horrible waste of time. We'll continue to work on this off air, and then maybe one day there'll be a better presentation of how robots are going to take over. They don't get me before. If it don't get mysteriously taken out before this actually gets produced, then you know that it's definitely a thing because the robots are getting scared. I might be onto something.